Hello and welcome to Everyone's an Expert. Welcome to all the internet experts. We've got a few in the group already. Hello to Roland, Todd, and John. Thanks for joining. And we've had a crazy day of Elon tweets today, so that's pretty cool. There's a lot more to talk about tonight than there was this morning, so that's all good. Plus, we've got just some lots of good pop-up road trip stuff to talk about too. So that's pretty cool. Again, thanks for joining. And the 100-mile pizza drive. I don't remember which. Oh, the 100-mile pizza drive. Yeah, that was a few road trips ago, man. The we ended up not doing back up for those that don't know. Last Saturday we had an event. I think it was Saturday. Could have been Sunday, but anyway, with the Minnesota Tesla Owners Group, we did a kind of a. It was an ice cream social at the Maplewood Service Center, and it was kind of a big to do to see everybody, but also to see the improvements they've made to the service center since they expanded. I've almost completely forgot about this because this week has been crazy, but it was a great event and lots of people. I think like over 50 people from the group were there. Plus Tesla was still delivering cars at the time, so there were new customers coming in, and it was great to see a lot of people there, and so that was fantastic. And then afterward, our plan was to drive into Wisconsin to this pizza place that's in a barn, and we were about to get some pretty severe weather, and we all kind of looked at that, and then Gail, who organized the event, kind of got the sense that people weren't really crazy about driving almost 100 miles to then drive 100 miles back in what could have been a hailstorm. So we decided to pick another place. It was the King's. I'm going to blow it, but basically something with King in the name. The burger place down in Meesville, which is in southern Minnesota. So it was a much shorter drive, and fantastic burgers. A good little, not really outdoor space, but a separate space where the whole group could be together, which was nice of the people who drove down. I think I counted 14 Teslas in the parking lot and nearby parking lots, so a handful of us went down there, and it was really good. And then we drove back, and excuse me, it wasn't pouring rain, but you could tell it was about to come down. And then when we got home, it definitely let loose, and I did see someone, I think in western Minnesota, had hail shatter their roof and their windshield and everything, and so that was pretty terrible to see. I'm glad we weren't caught out in that, but I feel terrible for that person. So the thank you for reminding me of that, John. So the event was great, and it was one of those where I thought, I've been doing all these road trip videos. I've been doing the Montana project, or the big out west road trip, mountain adventure, and I'm just a little burned out on filming and editing stuff. I'm just gonna enjoy this event as a attendee. And of course, there were beautiful cars there with beautiful wraps and everything. And then the drive down to southern Minnesota was gorgeous, and you could see the whole line of Teslas. We were all able to stick pretty close together. And I'm just the whole time I'm going, man, why didn't I bring a camera? So I just have terrible timing apparently. But it was a great event, beautiful day for a drive, great hanging out with everyone. And so if you were there and I saw you, good to see you, and thanks for joining in here. Hey, Aaron and Tim, hello. And Todd, thank you. It was Saturday. Yeah, the ice cream social was a great time. And the ice cream was very good. We only tried the pineapple flavor, but it was very good. Crisp. King's Place Bar and Grill. Thank you, Todd. My brain is like Swiss cheese. Uh, oh, Cody, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the road trip series. That's pretty much wrapped up, but as I'll get to in a little bit, we've got some more adventures coming up. So thank you for watching that. That was really fun to do, and I want to do more of that kind of stuff. Um, some of those Tesla pucks, they're only $25, and you could. Yeah, definitely the little jack bucks are worth it. Um, and I'll kind of tie back to that afterward. I'm going to be ordering some soon, I think. Um, yeah, those of the events, the owners group events are really fun. So um, I just had a crazy realization that I have no idea how I'm plugged into the internet right now and how you're seeing this, but I'm not going to worry about it. My wife took I have the Wi-Fi off on the computer, and my wife took the hard line to do some work this afternoon, but she must have replaced it because we're online. Either that or it's magic. Tesla magic. But anyway, the thing I wanted to start out with was a pretty badass quote from Elon today. Someone had posted an interview where they were saying, that um, part of the problem with the Afghanistan situation right now is, as all the journalists have left, knowing what's going on the ground is going to be very difficult. And the person being interviewed actually said SpaceX needs to just flood Afghanistan with Starlink uh, terminals. And I think it was Scott Manley asked, like, well, wouldn't you need the ground stations to do that? And Elon responded to him that um, no, you with the new satellites they're going to be using in like the next 6 to 8 months, they're going to have laser line of sight connections, and so you wouldn't necessarily need the ground stations at all, um, which is pretty awesome. And then someone else, I can't remember who it was, but they responded to that. Well, what about the local regulations? If they say you can't access the internet or certain sites, what could happen? And Elon said they could shake their fists at the sky. And I just thought that was fantastic. I don't think it's something China's going to like so much. If they, take that to the full fruition over there. But yeah, that's the beauty of Starlink is if you have the terminal and they can do that between the satellites, you can get information in and out. So that's great for a place that might be hurting for good connections soon. And that's all I'm going to say about that whole situation because I'm not going to get into the politics and everything of it. But I just thought there's a guy who's got solutions and is going to kind of put it out there that that's going to happen. So I love that. Love that he kind of said, "Yeah, screw them. We're going to do it." So if it takes a while for me to get Starlink because someone over there got Starlink, I'm okay with waiting a little bit. Excuse me. I've been enjoying a taste of my youth and a beverage. Not sponsored, but I saw that Cub Foods had New York Seltzer, and when I was a kid, this was like the coolest thing. Growing up in a small town in Minnesota, having something New York was just like, ooh, this is pretty cool. And it's super fruity and sugary, so probably not the best thing to be drinking before a live stream, but I was cutting it with water to balance it out. But I love that stuff. Anyway, way off topic there. Um, the chat's kind of blowing up, so I'm going to just catch up here. Yeah, the plug kit. I've actually been driving around this week, and I'll get to why. But I've been driving around this week with the compressor in the back of the car, just in case, not knowing where we were going to be as far as service went. So we've got the plug kit, through the compressor in the car, and still haven't got the jack bucks yet, but it's on the list. Yeah, they're good to carry around. I should have been doing that. I was I was tempting fate when we did the mountain road trip. Oh, nice, Roland! You finally got the Cybertruck Hot Wheels. Fantastic. Is that the remote control ones or the diecast ones? Because I've got a couple of the remote control ones, but haven't seen the diecast anywhere yet. Um, Aaron's got the Starlink. Works awesome 90% of the time. He's got a couple trees in the way. Faster than local ISP north of Alexandria. Cool. Great. Yeah. We put the money down for to get in line for it when it's available. Our service here is so it can be very good, but there are times, and it seems like just full days, where it's almost non-existent, and it's super frustrating, especially what we're paying for it. So I'd love to contribute, support that, get more Starlinks out there, but also have better internet here at home. Um, I could the repair kit. I'll put a link to where we have that. The compressor I have is not probably the best option for most people. I used to do scenery painting and some airbrush work. So I have a airbrush compressor that's small and old and loud and not super powerful. So and it also has a tank. And I think now the compressor my brother has, I can ask him what kind he had. The one he had on our trip doesn't have a tank. It just pulls air and compresses that, and there's no tank stage in the middle. So I can try to find a link for what he had. That worked really well, and then the plug kit is just something we bought from Napa, and worked really well. So I will try to add those to the description after the live stream. Okay, the RC one, cool. I am not an Amazon Prime member. Yeah, happy to do that kind of stuff. If, like I said, if it's, I'll find a better compressor than what I have, and stick a link to that in there. Yeah, and if anybody, like Aaron just chimed in, that if anybody's got something that's good and compact and you can stick in the car easily, feel free to add that to the chat or in the comments below. If you're watching this later to help other people, that's fantastic. That's all the internet experts. Everyone's an expert when we're all together. So, ending the Montana, it's not really a Montana series. I keep calling it that because we spent so much time there in Montana. So after ending that whole series, and then picking up with the feature on the Dickinson Museum and the Well Done Foundation, which are both great things that I'm really happy to have covered and been able to do interviews and stuff for. I'm really looking forward to doing more like car focus and interviewing other owners. And so as we did the Well Done Foundation thing, ran on Sunday, I kind of then Monday woke up and went, oh no, what's this Sunday? So I thought, okay, well, one of the things I've meant to do since we bought our Model Y in March, was do a range test. And this week had pretty much perfect weather for doing a range test. And then I got to thinking, well, do I redo my 8-hour range test where I drive down into Iowa on the interstate and then drive back? I thought, well, I could do that, but I'm watching my daughter all week, and that's a long grind for her to be in the car with not much payoff. We're just stopping at charging stops as fast as we can. And when you've got a child with you, sometimes you can get delayed. And then I'd be, judging, do I take that time off or not? And it just gets a little sloppy. So decided not to do that. Decided to do a 100% down to 0% test instead. And that was dicey in its own way because obviously I would have my daughter with me, and if we got stuck, it could be bad depending on where. But I've been down in that 0 or below 0 range a few times, so I kind of know what to look for. If you've never been down that low before, I don't necessarily suggest it unless you're adventurous, but if you've never been that low before, but you have charged to 100%, when you're at 100%, you'll notice you not only don't have any regen, you will see along that little line that's at the top of the screen where it shows your regen or your energy usage, that little bar will have dashes in it. And once you burn off some of your 100%, once you get down into the low 90s, those dashes will slowly disappear. Well, the opposite happens on the bottom end of the battery. So you might hit 0% and see your full line there, and then you drive another mile or two, and you'll start seeing those dashes start creeping down into like toward the center. Do not let it get to the center. Definitely stop or slow down significantly before you get to the center. I've had it get close in the Model S, and it was very tense. But now that I know, well, if I get down to 0 and I start seeing that, we'll have to pull over and find a safe place to pull over. But if we don't and we hit 0, I know we probably got some buffer in the bottom end. So, again, then the question was, which way do we go? Do we go north, but then we're going through the cities? So the Twin Cities with traffic and everything, you can get a lot of variables in speed. And although it would be a real test, it would be just another interstate test, essentially. And then I thought, well, we could go south toward Iowa again, but that's, again, same kind of speed we've done before and the same scenery I've seen now many, many times, and for video viewers, you've seen many times. So I thought, well, if you were really concerned about charging, you'd probably be going off into the boonies a little bit, or, off of the main charging areas. So we went pretty much directly west. I'll bring this up here. Which one is it? It is this one. Okay. So not directly west. We went down to Henderson and then out to Redwood Falls and then back and made a little stop. We had lunch in Redwood Falls and then stopped at Beaver Creek, Beaver Falls. I guess Beaver Falls on Beaver Creek. And did a little hiking there. Again, just to get out of the car, stretch our legs a little bit, and then drove back. And so that right now is the plan for... Oh, where am I? I'm hiding. I always forget to recenter when I go to these. But that was going to be Sunday's video, and might still be. We'll see. So it was a good road trip. We left at 100%, got back with 0, had a couple percentage when we got back to town, so did kind of a loop around town. Now, this isn't a real, like, interstate 70-mile-an-hour range test. Tom Malogny from Inside EVs and his channel, State of Charge with Tom Malogny, has done that, and I think Kyle Connor's also done a 70-mile-an-hour range test with the Model Y. Tom got 275 miles, 275.4 miles in his 70-mile range test. We didn't get that, but I'll save the final details for the video. There we are. But part of what my thinking was, if you're on the interstates, you don't have any worries about charging, especially now that, like, even North Dakota's covered, Montana's covered. The network still needs to grow out, but really, if you're worried about charging, you're going someplace, in those big gaps between chargers. And so we drove out there, and when you drive out there, you're not on the interstate. So you are slowing down to 45 or 30 through these small towns, then speeding up back to, sometimes the speed limit's 60, sometimes it's 55. We were generally staying 5 miles over the speed limit because it was good with the flow of traffic even out there. And it still worked when we were on on 169, which is a more major highway. So, being from rural Minnesota, I thought this is a good real-world example where there really isn't, I could have checked plug share. I'm sure there were bailout options and things. But there really isn't, a charging network out that direction. And dang it, I think my plug for New York Seltzer is biting me in the rear here. Dang, I was hoping to get that sweet, sweet sponsorship too. But my thinking is, if you're worried about range in, 2021, 2022, you're probably going someplace like this. And then we went out there, got back. It was fine. More details and video in the video that I'll do about it. But also something really interesting occurred to me as we were out there. And you can see, that's the wrong mouse. If I bring this back, you can see kind of on this little map that it's about 3/4 of the way across the state. Not depending on what part of the state you take. And had we gone straight, we could have easily gone all the way to the new Watertown supercharger, which is up and running in South Dakota. More on that later. But my thinking was, as we were out there having lunch, I was looking at all the pickup trucks and people driving around, and I thought, well, obviously there weren't any other Teslas there. Someone did stop and say, oh, my son had a Tesla, and, yeah, they're really fast. And anyway, but so that was good that people had been exposed to them in that part of the state. But it was also kind of a revelation of, even in my town, which is only the town I grew up in, which is only like 60 miles from Minneapolis. If we were going to the cities and back, we probably would have filled up with gas first. And obviously there are a lot of gas stations on the way, but from a charging standpoint, if you lived there, if you were going to the cities, you'd probably charge all the way up just because it's a long trip and you can do it overnight. And then, there would be fast chargers there to get you back home. So that was kind of a revelation of very few people will ever even need to do this, especially with chargers pretty frequently spaced on the interstates now. This range is way more than almost anybody needs on a day-to-day basis. And if you're the kind of person that needs more range than that, where you'd still need a gas vehicle or hybrid, your family probably has a second vehicle that doesn't do that every day. And that could easily be electric. So just kind of not necessarily a new perspective, but validating a perspective I've had for a while, that even in some of these remote places, if you can start from that place without charging and get in any direction to charging, then driving electric is pretty easy. So, like I said, more coming on that. That video was going to be this Sunday, and it still might be. But just about an hour or two ago now, Brandon Flash, the EV Nomad, if you follow him on, if you're in the Minnesota group, you probably know him, but if you're just on YouTube, then it's Brandon and Kaylee, the EV Nomads. Brandon posted that the new supercharger at Black Bear Casino in, I think it's Carlton, Minnesota. It's up near Duluth. Is going to be having a grand opening ceremony. It's been open for about a week or something, but they're going to do a ceremony tomorrow at 1 p.m. So I'm thinking now that Joan and I will drive up there, even though we just yesterday did this trip. But I'd really like to go up there, and this time I'll actually bring the camera to the event, and try to get that. So if there's enough meat for a good story there, that might be this Sunday, because it'll be a little more topical. We'll see how that goes. Just kind of an impromptu road trip. I think what we'll probably do is get up there in time for the ceremony. I'll see if I can, depending on how Joan's behaving, my daughter, for those of you who don't know, depending on how she's behaving, I might do some interviews if I can. Definitely get some B-roll around there, and then we'll probably run up to Duluth quick to see the lake. Since we're so close, it seems like it would be a waste to be that close and miss the opportunity. But I'd like to capture that event, kind of local people, and I think it is on tribal land, so there's going to be some tribal leaders there, I think, too. I would assume they're going to talk a lot about sustainability and caring for the earth. So I'd like to be there, and if nothing else, just witness it. If I can shoot some stuff, then I will, and anything else I can get, I will share with you. So that may be coming Sunday. If not, we've got this other one in the bag that's also pretty cool. So something good is coming next. I'm just going to catch up with the chat here quick. Hello, everyone who's just joined. Thanks for stopping in. The ceremony is on Thursday. Yes. The Alpine Coaster at Spirit Mountain, I've not. That's one of those things I never think of when I'm up there. So thank you for mentioning that, Aaron. I always see people have gone on it. I'm like, oh, where is that? I need to check that out. And yeah, she loves stuff like that. So that would be pretty sweet. Yes, and I did see Jason. Thank you for pointing out they are going to be live streaming it on Facebook too, on the Black Bear Casino Facebook page. So if you can't make it up there, probably could catch it either live or as a replay there. So other options if you don't want to do that drive just for the heck of it. But I figured it's one. My daughter starts school next Wednesday, so I figured it's one last road trip hurrah before school starts, and then we'll maybe settle down over the weekend a little bit, but maybe not. There might be new things to go see. So anyway, if anybody's going to be there or is interested in that, there's the live stream, and then like I said, if they let me shoot some stuff there, then I will bring that to you guys as well. Just checking my notes here, see where we go next. Yeah, so thank you for watching the mountain road trip series. That was really cool to do. I can't believe it took me until the end of August to get all those videos produced and everything, but there was a lot. It was a long road trip and a lot to get in there. So okay. Yeah, Black Bear has complimentary level 2 charging. Fantastic. That's great. That's another good option. And for non-Tesla people, that's a good solution until if and when the supercharger network opens up, which we haven't heard a lot about that, but I don't know if there's going to be much news until there's an adapter and, they actually start rolling the program out. Yeah. Excuse me. So then I just wanted to touch on, looks like Rivian is getting close. They've been posting more and more videos. RJ Scaringe, the CEO of Rivian, is posting more videos. They had one this week where it was almost submerged up to the windows, going through this kind of water trough they had built as a test. Seemed to do it well. Now, obviously, we didn't see it, continue to drive for the next 3 days or, whatever, and have problems if it did. Obviously, they're not going to share that at this point. But it was cool to see another, kind of feat of strength that Rivian is showcasing. So that kind of stuff is cool. Motor Trend had a kind of exclusive ride and drive review of it. They were pretty glowing in their review, which that's great. I think they were the only media team to have access. So you're not getting a lot of perspectives, just, a couple guys were driving around in it in the videos they shared, and but they seemed to like it for the most part. Said the UI still needed a little tweaking, and one of the guys wasn't crazy that everything was on the screen and it was like a big learning curve. But if you're coming from the Tesla world or other EVs, stuff being on a screen probably isn't going to bother you. So I've seen the truck in person. Obviously a very pre-production model in the beginning of 2020 at Fully Charged Live. So I do have a video of that in the Frunk Full of Diapers series. And actually the intro to the live stream has some footage. I just noticed as I was playing it, getting ready, that I do have a couple shots of the bed of the truck in the Rivian area from fully charged. Excuse me, in the intro to this. So it's a really slick looking vehicle in person, and I hope it all works underneath, and I hope it's fantastic when eventually it launches. Like everything else, it seems to be taking its time. It seems to be taking its time, and like I said, only having one journalist or one journalist group review it isn't super, but I'm sure once it's launched, everybody is going to try to get their hands on it as fast as possible. That's kind of what Lucid just did. I can't remember who the journalist it was, but somebody took a drive in the Lucid and had a very glowing review of it. That's great, and we'll see when more people get their hands on it. What it's really like and what people think of it. I personally don't care for the look of the Lucid. It looks old without looking vintage to me, and maybe I just don't have an eye for luxury. That's very possible, but I don't. It doesn't charm me really in any way. It just looks, kind of in that middle ground between, there's kind of a gap between like good-looking 50s cars and good-looking 70s cars, and then there's just kind of some vehicles in between those eras are just kind of like a mush of neither. That's kind of how I feel about the look of the Lucid. But if anybody's getting one, great. It's all good. And if people love the styling, that's great. Not everything has to be tailored to my liking. Like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, I was talking to a friend, and they're like, "Yeah, we were looking at that, and we're looking at the Model Y. They might go with a Mustang Mach-E." He loves minis, but like the range is too short. And he was like, "Well, Hyundai's got this Ioniq 5," and he and his wife were looking at it and brought it up on screen. Oh no, we're not driving that. So other people think it's really cool and retro. Again, to each their own. So whatever works for you is great. Anything electric is pretty good in my book. So another interesting thing I saw on Twitter, kind of relating to the Motor Trend thing and the Rivian review, kind of the said or unsaid aspects to those reviews are, this is going to take away from Tesla, this is going to take away from Tesla, or they do this better than Tesla, or will they do this better than, the Rivian versus the Cybertruck. Obviously, Rivian's got way more traditional looks to it. But the short sellers and everybody loves to bring up the sales in Norway. And somebody had a good chart about how the Model Y is now delivered from China to Norway, just shot up to the top of the list. And, suddenly Tesla is way ahead in Norway, where they were lagging before the deliveries got there from China. And the interesting thing the person pointed out, this was on Twitter, was as you see these sales charts, when the Model Y arrives, the other charts don't tank. They continue to go up at a more modest pace, but they were going up at that rate the whole time. So Tesla isn't eating into their sales. They're clearly not eating into Tesla's sales. It's fewer ICE vehicles being sold. And so that's great. That, I think, is going to be the trend pretty much everywhere. Now, will people switch brands and, go from, Chevy to Tesla to to Rivian to, there's going to be some people who are just kind of always moving around. But I think the general trends will be that these all just keep going up. And from your angle, I might be going backwards. But picture I'm doing the graphs right, okay? Humor me. But if that same trend that's happening in Norway is happening here and everywhere else, then that's good. That means we're really making progress, versus internal combustion cars. So that's all good. The more the merrier. Gonna check up here. Yeah, the editing does take a little while. Thank you, Cody. Yeah, road trips are so much fun. That one was a long one. After 13 days on the road and 4,500 miles, I think that's what it was. It was nice to pull into the driveway after that one. Yeah. Oh, was that Motor Trend too? I wasn't sure. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, there's something about Lucid from some angles, and I don't want to dog on Lucid. They're fine as long as they eventually come to market. That's great. In some cars, the two-tone, top versus body color really works. I kind of hate rose gold as a color, and the main Lucid they use in all their promo stuff that I've seen is rose gold with a white top, and it's a huge turnoff for me. I haven't seen the latest Fisker prototype. They've kind of always been in the back of my mind as this thing that's going to come to market eventually. And until I see more concrete plans or actual production intent vehicles, I've kind of been ignoring them. But I have heard that Fisker has great designs, so maybe it's something I need to pay a little more attention to. But I don't think they've got a real big production plan right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I could be dead wrong. And is the Fisker Ocean kind of crossover-y? I can't remember. I felt like the Ocean was a more crossover kind of style. Yeah, it was. Yeah, a lot of miles on that road trip, but great experiences. So we want to do more of those, but do more. We've kind of shown you can do a whole bunch of miles fast, over pretty big distances. I'd like to go to a place and just spend more time and enjoy that. My wife and I are planning for our anniversary next year of maybe going to Dry Tortugas in Florida and actually camping out on the island down there. We'll see with all the hurricanes lately if it's actually still around. But it's lasted for hundreds of years, so guessing it probably will still. But, doing something like that where I still might do the drive down there, but then, just be there, enjoy it for a couple days, and really soak in the experience, and then, drive back. I don't know. It is an anniversary trip, so I don't know if I'll be able to drive alone down and have her fly down. I don't think she'll want to do the drive and car camping and take that much time off work, plus the time we'll be at the park. So we'll have to play that by ear. We haven't got our plans locked down for that, but that's the kind of trip I think we're going to try to do more of in the future. Unless there's something super bonkers we want to do just for fun, but we'll see. Ocean is a crossover. Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, cool. Yeah, it should be a pretty cool trip. I also want to do some more car camping, and maybe do some car camping and testing in the winter. Last year, I was talking with maybe it was 2 years ago now. COVID has really screwed everything up. But I was talking to some of the guys who were in the Cybertruck video I did. After that reveal, I interviewed some of our relatives at Thanksgiving. What their thoughts were as people who all own pickup trucks, what they thought of the Cybertruck and the stats and all that. Once it actually comes out and Rivian's out and everything, I will be interviewing them again. Right now it's like everything's in so much delay, there's not much point, but I do want to touch base with those guys once these things are actually out in the market, especially if they could kick tires and all that stuff, see it in person. I think that would be really cool. But when I was talking to them, one of the things was, well, what if we're up in Ely ice fishing and the car's got to sit on the lake for a day or two? How much range would you lose of it just being in the cold? And so I meant to do this last winter, but didn't, got warm too fast. But I'd like to go somewhere up by Grand Marais or something and park out by the harbor, or some place like that that's pretty exposed, maybe by the Coast Guard station out there. I don't know if I'd need a permit to sleep there overnight for a couple nights. I do have an uncle who lives in Grand Marais, so I would have a bailout options if things got dangerous. Or maybe I wouldn't have to actually sleep in the car. I could just leave the car out there exposed. But do some pretty harsh weather testing and see how it holds up here, see how the range loss goes. I haven't really formulated how I'd do that test yet, but I think that would be pretty cool, provided I don't get frostbite. But that's kind of deep winter stuff. That might be January, February kind of testing. We'll see if I have the guts to go through with it. I do not like cold, generally. Yeah, I can post a link to that Cybertruck video. I'll put that in the description as well after this is over with. I think it's called Cybertruck in the Midwest, and if you go back and watch it, it's really interesting to hear really how open they are to it. And I don't know if they were just being nice to me, because you're not going to jump down your in-law relative's throat. But they were like, well, those stats sound pretty good, and this is how I use my truck. This is how I use my truck. What I'd use this for potentially. So that kind of stuff was pretty interesting. The downside is, like I said, it was during Thanksgiving, and I just gathered these guys around a table, and kids are playing in the background. I tried to denoise things as best I could, but I couldn't mic everybody, and so there is some background noise that people have got a little upset about. Why can't you shut those kids up and put them in a different room or something? But it's like, this isn't my house. I was a guest somewhere, and I did the best I could. So I thought still the perspectives they had were worth bringing up. So yeah, I will put a link to that in the description down below. I can't do it right now because I'm a one-man band, and you'd just sit here watching me searching and fumbling and typing. So I will do it right after the stream. Excuse me. Stream is over. In other news, looks like the Bolt production is pretty much halted, and even the repairs are halted. I don't know if that means all buybacks are halted, but if you're a Bolt owner and going through that, I'm sorry. It's got to be super frustrating. Hopefully they do get it sorted out soon and do start doing the repairs. Assuming everything is kosher with the new batteries, you should have a fairly updated vehicle once this all goes through. But I have to imagine they are going to vet the hell out of those new batteries coming out of LG for replacements and make sure everything is perfect, because it would just make this nightmare go on and on if those batteries aren't right. So hopefully it doesn't take too long, but that seems to be where the status of things is now. I apologize. And I apologize for keep apologizing too. I know that's super annoying. So that was the last one. If I cough again, no apologies. He's so edgy. Why is he so edgy tonight? Could it be a little touch of New York? Could be. But right before I came on, I'm just going to check this here quick. Well, hopefully the Cybertruck is awesome. And I actually think, as much of a bummer as it is that it's delayed, it's kind of to their benefit that Rivian comes out first, because they can kind of look at it already. Already they've added the four-wheel steering like the GMC has, like the Hummer has, and it'll be interesting to see if they steal any ideas from Rivian too before final production is locked in. Hopefully they just make it the best thing ever. I wasn't real sold on it, and then now that I've seen it down at Giga Texas and in New York City in those different environments, I'm like, no, this is going to be pretty cool pretty much wherever it is. So I'm looking forward. I have no need for it, no need for a truck, so we won't be getting one, but I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of them on the road. So the big thing that dropped just half an hour or so before, no, it must have been about an hour before we went live, was there's news, FSD news. If you follow Elon on Twitter, you've probably already seen this. But originally FSD 10, Beta 10, was going to drop on Friday this week. And now he's said that's now Friday of the following week. But it seems like it's, well, as best as we can tell from Elon's comments, it sounds like it's a pretty good rewrite and should be pretty robust. But it is going to be released on the following week, which would be the 10th, I believe. So I think midnight on the 10th, that's going to drop to the beta testers. And then there'll probably be, I think he said 2 weeks this time, but it could have been his 2 weeks. I keep doing things with this hand and you don't see it. Hi, hand. 2 weeks. He keeps doing things with the 2 weeks in it, and I don't know how to take that now. But originally he had said FSD 10 will come out, and then That'll go out to the beta testers, probably be tested for about 4 weeks, find any major errors, and then roll it out wider. And an interesting way he phrased one of the tweets was that once it's 10.1, so after that, after the beta testers have their 4 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it will be, then you'll be able, they'll drop the button where you can opt in to being, it sounded like you can opt in to be in line, or to be put in the pool of who they'll be adding next. So I think the button now doesn't necessarily mean click the button, you have it, you're good to go. And I'm wondering if that's because, well, they might analyze some of your driving dynamics. That could be it. So Jason, I don't know if you want to hammer on your Plaid right away when you get it, if you're really looking forward to FSD. Although I'm guessing they know anybody who's got a Plaid is going to be doing that. But it sounds like if you click the button, they will either slowly let people into this pool as they can handle the data, or as safety, or maybe municipalities have different rules, but it doesn't sound like automatic. You flip the button and then you get it. It sounds like there might be a little bit of process or a little bit of wait time. Maybe not for everybody, but it'll be interesting to see how that rolls out. And as much as I want it yesterday, I am glad that they're taking the time to do it safely, hopefully. This has a huge potential to go sideways fast. We already had, the knucklehead in California sitting in his back seat on autopilot saying, see, it works already. What's the big deal? And it just makes us all look like morons. And so I have a feeling there's also going to be pretty quick revocation of, if you post something or you're doing something stupid, or maybe they can tell from the data in the car that you're doing something stupid, maybe the interior camera, they'll be watching John like a hawk. But, if they, I have a feeling it's going to be revoked from some people, and they're going to be upset about it, but I would rather have them be pretty harsh with revoking it at first until maybe you get another try after the next point release or the next version release or something. I don't know, but this has to play out safely, or it's going to set them back and all of us back quite a bit further. So really hoping for that. Get my fingers in here. And really hoping it rolls out well. So we'll see. One thing I thought was interesting from AI Day was that it sounds like it's part of the limit they've got. And I was wondering about this when they were only releasing it to so few people at first. Again, I know they want to be safe. But part of the thing I was wondering was maybe they just can't take any more data than that. They've got enough in enough variety of situations where, if you think of the size of the whole fleet that's got, the camera suite and everything for FSD, that's such a monumental pile of data. And it sounds like Dojo, from really at least working at full speed, is going to be another year before that's really rolling. It sounds like they've got the chip, they've got the plans and all this, but before they can ingest that much data, it's going to be a while. And so right now I think they're doing it on GPUs and CPUs, is what they were saying. And so there's probably a limit on how much you can feed that and still be efficient. So sorry, I just banged the microphone. So that's my 2 cents on that. I hope Dojo gets running faster. I hope, we all get FSD and can test it out in all our, I know I have a bunch of corner cases, different roads I want to try it on. I'm guessing you guys are all the same way. So hopefully that's coming soon. Okay, the Mazda EV. All right, Roland, I'll get into this. I was not going to go on a rant this week. It's great that Mazda is making an EV. And if you live in a city, like I was saying with the massive range of, if you're out in the boondocks and you have a gas car and you need that for the long trips that you do daily, get an EV as your second vehicle that doesn't do those kind of trips. I can see the Mazda being valuable for that use. We have a Tesla that's rated at 326 miles. It can do any trip we need it to. We don't need 2 of those vehicles. So could the Mazda EV do that with only 100 miles of range? Yes. I would not, unless my wife really loved it. There's no way I would go for that, especially in a couple years. I would like to get, and I know my daughter loves it because we saw them at Fully Charged, the Arcimoto, the 3-wheel. And if we could get the version of that with doors for, some of the cooler weather times and have that as a second vehicle, just a small kind of fun runabout thing, I think that would be fantastic. So we've got the Tesla, does all the big boy work, and then, we've got the little fun guy for doing mushroom work. Sorry, terrible pun, but it was right there. So I think that's kind of how I would like to go. My wife loves the look of the ID4. I don't think we need two relatively long range EVs in an SUV form factor, where if she found like the Mini or something like that, or the Honda Fit isn't here in the US, but if she found another cute, smaller EV, I'd be cool with that. Obviously, if she wants to get the ID4 and, we can swing it and it's what she really has her heart set on, we might end up doing that where we'd have the Model Y and then the ID4. But again, I don't see that. I don't see why we'd need 2 of that form factor. And maybe then we'd go to, I don't know, maybe then we'd trade the Y for a 3 or something. I don't know. That's all speculation. But basically, like, my going all the way back to the Mazda thing, I can see it being a good use for that. And the price, it's going to be like start at 32 or 33, and like Roland said in the chat there, it's going to be about 25 after the tax break or whatever, however it's going to be structured when it rolls out. So it's not the worst thing, but I don't I find it would be really hard for it to be someone's only vehicle, where you'd be making pretty big compromises to have an electric car. Um, so from a brand standpoint of, for a Mazda, and I don't think it's got really good acceleration time or anything, so for the company of the RX-7, RX-8, and, Zoom Zoom, all that kind of stuff, to come out with a slow 100-mile EV is pretty lackluster. I'll say that in the politest way I can. And it sounds like they might do, I don't know if this is still in play. I thought somebody said it was, but at one point they had talked about having a range extender using the Renesis engine, the Wankel engine, the rotary motor or engine from the RX-8, or a new version of that. So you have your short range battery, and then you need this the rotary engine to rotary motor to power the battery. And that's cool. When I first heard rumblings of that in like 2007, it sounded like, yeah, that's a great idea. Now it seems really gimmicky. I don't know. It seems like adding an extra powertrain in just to say, hey, we're still using this cool style engine that we used to use. My brother's got an RX-8. It is fun to drive. It's not as fast as it was when it was new. He got it in 2002 or 3, brand new. And man, when you put that thing down, it felt like, it just hunkered down and went. It was like riding on the back of a cougar. Is kind of how it, made you feel, like just like, holy crap. Now the Model Y is faster than that ever was. And, the performance Teslas, especially the Plaid, are, that thing would look silly to it. But I love the styling. I love the suicide doors. And it sounds like the new EV is going to have that. I thought that was really cool in the RX-8. But he's had problems with the seals in that engine, and I don't know if now their newer technology might have some of that stuff solved. It's still a beautiful car, but it's a beautiful yesterday car. I would love to, and some people have done this, do an EV conversion into the RX-8. I think somebody in England has done it, and I don't know if anybody here has. My brother and I have talked about that, and he's like, yeah, I can't afford to do something like that. And then, it's such a small car, finding a spot for all the batteries to give it a good range, and then, battery management, all that stuff. It's probably not in the cards for his vehicle. But it would be really cool, and it would be really cool to make that as fast as, some of the 3s and Ys out there. So we'll see. Never say never, but I don't think that one's going to get converted. But Mazda had some really fun designs, and they kind of like Toyota and Honda, although Honda's got the Fit. They just really wasted so much time. I keep going back. I know I've said this before, but I keep going back to the like if GM had stuck with the EV1, and been a little more creative in problem solving and marketing, and taking the bull by the horns of partnering with a battery company and making it work. And we'd be so much further ahead. And then at that point, by maybe 2005, all the other companies would be getting on board, and we'd be a decade, maybe a decade and a half further into battery technology for everyone. More EVs on the road, definitely the charging infrastructure, which that's another thing that I keep hearing about is, how are we going to charge all these EVs? Where's the infrastructure? And, then you look at, like somebody was saying on Twitter that they opened this huge, I think it's Buc-ee's gas stations where they have like 50 pumps or something like that. And one of them that I was at had a bank of like 12 superchargers too, which was great. But the infrastructure to put those chargers in is maybe put in a new transformer and run conduit and wires out, and you've got your chargers. Whereas with the gas station, you put these massive tanks underground. You got to dig all that up, put them in the ground, make sure they're sealed all right. Add the ventilation system, all that stuff, and then constantly be refilling it with flammable liquid. And people just think, well, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you do that? It's like, well, you don't have to. You could do way simpler. Just take the power you've got going to the place. Maybe you need to boost it a little bit. Maybe you need to add solar, ideally. But, the power is there. We just need to be using it smart. So anyway, so the Mazda thing, it's disappointing, but I can't say it was surprising. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I really wanted more out of them. But we'll see. Maybe this is the baby step that takes them on a bigger, or, starts a flywheel of getting things really ramped up for them. I hope so. Another big thing that's been going on, I wish I could remember who said this. I should have written it down. But they were basically saying, look, China is making EVs super fast, and they're going to be making them super cheap. And, this kind of ties into last week. We were talking about the Sandy Munro going off on the government about, you should be supporting this thing that's happening right in your back door. But, kind of it ties into that, there will be Chinese EVs in the U.S. And what we've seen in Norway, like I was saying earlier, is, as these vehicles get produced, they aren't eating away from each other's sales. They're eating away from ICE sales. So if we aren't, I know Mazda isn't a U.S. company, but I'm talking about like all legacy brands. If they don't make the switch, the Chinese companies are going to eat them for lunch. It seems like VW's kind of got a good plan. They need to roll it out faster. But we'll kind of see how everything shakes out. This decade is going to be just really crazy. I think the growth is going to happen, barring chip shortages and things like that. I think the growth of EVs is going to happen far faster than most people think. I think another Sandy Munro video was, he was talking about he thinks like 2028 is going to be the year where we hit 50%, and it's just going to be over with ice from there. I guess if production rates and things don't improve, that's probably about right. But if Giga Texas and Giga Berlin come online and in the next year or two can be at full scale with the Cybertruck, with the $25,000 model, coming, I can see us hitting 50% by 2026, because the more saturated the roads get, the more you start seeing them, the more you see it working for other people, the more and more people are going to be looking at it and realizing, hey, my car's kind of sorry, I forgot who said it. I'm looking. Someone was saying Aaron was saying his GMC Sierra is feeling pretty dated compared to the Model Y. And yeah, that's, they're putting screens in other cars and stuff and trying to tech them up, but it's just not going to be a comparison. And by 2026, the infrastructure should be so ridiculously obvious that you can charge almost anywhere. If they roll things out right, that's kind of where I see the tipping point of, we might not be at 50%, but over 50% of people will be thinking my next car will be electric. So maybe Sandy's right. Maybe those purchases won't actually happen until 2028, but I definitely see the switch going off and we jumping to that, that kind of over the hill of EV adoption by 2026. That's my guess. We'll see where we are at that point. Who knows? But that was pretty much all of my big topics. I did have. I don't want to give any more away about that other road trip, but I will. I still haven't fixed the graphics on this road trip plan. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, sorry, these graphics were really thrown together for last week's live stream, and in the background, I've been working on them, but haven't exported the video to make it a little more, a little less. Let's just leave it here. I know these are terrible graphics, but still planning on this trip, which will be, looks like September 11th and 12th. Probably leaving in the morning from Rochester on the 11th, and then staying in Fargo that night, and then driving the rest of the loop on the 12th, and may hit some state parks and things in northern Minnesota. We'll see. I'm going to kind of map it out a little bit better, but I will be creating an event in the Minnesota Tesla Owners Group. So if you want to meet up at one of the chargers along the way, I'll be posting updates and stuff in that event. Or if people want to drive a couple legs of the trip with us, then that's fantastic. But yeah, it looks like that's going to be the 11th and 12th of September. So should be pretty fun. Just kind of cruising around the state, because we can now with Watertown, South Dakota online, Great Falls, North Dakota online, Bemidji online, and of course tomorrow at Carlton. Carlton? I think so. I just always call it either Black Bear or Duluth, but that new supercharger up there. And even though we don't need to stop at all of these, we will be, just to stop in and show that they're there. And then we'll turn that into a highlight video, and ideally have people who are familiar with the area talk about what's around each supercharger. Otherwise, I'll just make some stuff up based on what I see, and any research I can do beforehand. But I kind of give, I think most of these actually already have supercharger reviews on the Now You Know channel. I'm not 100% sure, but if they don't, we can shoot one as a group in these spots. And if they do, we'll just, kind of add information to, this road trip video as a resource. But generally on the Now You Know channel, if someone's from an area and does a supercharger review, I don't like to go in and do another one, because I don't know the area as well as them. Even though I want to cover all of them, I feel like it's kind of stepping on, someone who's local to that area's toes. And the first supercharger reviews I did were, and really this whole, doing EV stuff on this channel all started because no one was covering these superchargers in the Midwest. And I thought, I've got a camera, I can do it. I'm going by there anyway. I want to fill in these gaps. So, I've done all across South Dakota into Lusk, Wyoming, down into Colorado. But now I saw somebody, at least in Bemidji, has already done that supercharger review. So that's great. I don't need to do them all. But it's fun to hit them. And like I said, it would be fun to do something at each one and just kind of say, hey, here's what's new. Like in Sherburne, unfortunately, the subway is closed. So there's even fewer amenities in Sherburne, but there's still the gas station and the Dollar General, assuming that's still open. I guess I didn't check. But the gas station is open, so at least you can get a snack and use the restroom. But like I said, I'm going to jump back to the chat here, and then unless you guys have anything else to talk about, we'll wrap up. Yeah, Aaron, you're right. The legacy manufacturers say no one wants an EV. Then you make them with low range, low power, and poor styling. No one will want them. And that's, I don't think it's intentional. Some people have suggested that like the Bolt fires and the recall is intentional. I think it's too big of an issue, too costly for GM, for it to be a conspiracy. Until the fires started happening, I think the Bolt EV or EUV won like 2021 EV of the year or something like that. So it was getting good press, good reviews. People who have Bolt seem to really like them. I know there are complaints about the seats and some of the things. And again, it wasn't the vehicle for us, but until the battery stuff, I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, just not my style. So yeah, it's unfortunate that you've got that big setback, the chip shortage setback, Mazda coming out with this garbage. It's really frustrating. I think, the more they drag their feet, the more the Teslas and the Rivians and the Lucids are going to be eating their lunch. And if Tesla comes out with a $25,000 EV, if that's the price, and then there's an EV tax credit on top of that, and it looks good and has decent range, I mean, they'll never satisfy the demand for something like that. So it's just, Mazda's just putting nails in their own coffin. Jay Cook State Park. We've never been there, but I have heard good things, so that might be a good. And Swinging Bridge in Carlton. Okay, yeah, so that's some good stuff. Maybe she won't be bored the whole time. That'd be fantastic. The only concern I have is I thought tomorrow was supposed to rain a little bit, so I'll maybe take a look at that. But even if it does, who cares? We'll go up there and play in the rain. We're fine getting wet, so that's no big deal. But unless anybody else has anything else, like I said, this Sunday should be the video of this kind of rural route range test that we did. That was, and it won't be as long as the other big road trip videos, so that's a perk too, or even as long as these live streams. And then so it'll either be that video, or again, if I can shoot some stuff tomorrow at the Carlton supercharger, I will do that. And then excuse me, if I can do that at the Carlton supercharger and get some good footage there, enough for a video, I'll do that this Sunday, since it's more topical to the time, or more timely to the actual event, and then save this range test for the following week. But that is all I have. So thank you for the suggestions on where to travel, and thanks for watching the other videos. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that, and have a wonderful evening. Thanks a lot. And if I can find there we go, we hunt around a little bit. Thanks a lot. Have a great night, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.